Here we have Chainlink, symbol LINK versus the dollar. And what do we have here? We got a bit of a range going on, but this one's actually incredibly obvious, in fact. And as long as it does hold above the 200x moving average, it will inevitably be getting a golden cross. And I would be looking for an upside resolution out of this nice little consolidation right here between about $24.80 to $29. And if that does happen, I would be having a short-term target of about, about $34, and probably with continuation implied as well. Here's the thing though, you do have a potential bait and switch available on this one, which is phenomenally bearish in my experience. And that would be confirmed with any sort of a daily closure below the 200x moving average, especially below the 55, which are pretty much one and the same with each other right now at about $24. The thing is that you're either going to get a perfect golden cross right here, or you're going to get the fake out into a death cross. And the way to confirm these things is very well clarified. So again, as long as you're above this area right here, especially the 55 or especially the 200, but even the 55 if you want to be a little bit more conservative with it. I do look for this to trade sideways and outside of this range, and it would look pretty damn good. We'd expect momentum oscillators to agree with this as well. And do they? No, we're not getting any obvious signals right here on daily RSI. Daily Jewel is coming into a bit of fib support right there, so I would be looking for perhaps a little bit more sideways within this region regardless of whether you're bullish or bearish, and volatility on the floor, but looking for a bit of a short-term expansion. I do want to see the moving average get positive on that. So this does still favor, I suppose, the Bulaws, but I should talk about downside targets if this one does break. And again, that would be confirmed with the daily, especially below about 24.25. If that does happen, I'd look for a quick move down to about $22, very likely a bounce there, and then much lower over time. I'm talking down to 17, $18, maybe even lower than that, but I wouldn't get too far ahead of myself right now. By the same token, if you want to go down to the short-term timeframes, do we see a bit of short-term bottoming signals? Yes, we do. I suspect we do see 4-hour Jewel with a bit of positive curvature right there, DMI supporting, and then on top of that, we see the 4-hour RSI giving some phantom div right there. Now, I'd say that this one's obviously played out, but Chainlink has this inanimate object has put in what would be considered a higher low right here, again around the 200x moving average, that purple moving average right there, which is more or less a good thing, again on very low volatility. So I do look at this as still within the context of the former trend, and still give the Bulaws the benefit of the doubt on this one. Looking at a weekly, is there anything obvious right here? Not necessarily, no. 3-day, again a little bit more on the bearish side. We do have hidden bearish divergence right there. To be fair, how far has this move played out thus far? Could we argue that it's already played out? 20%, yes, I would argue that is probably played out already if you are going to be looking at that. And again, it's not really until we close below about 24.25 where this one really does turn around to be massively bearish. And yes, I would feel comfortable targeting an overall move down to 17, $18 before the next sort of general bounce. Let's go look at it from a momentum oscillator perspective as well, and see if there's anything to kind of gear up the probabilities over here as well. We see hourly will flip back around with any sort of closure above 25.32.5, which we are pretty much at right now, and that would imply a target very likely back up around 25.75 short term to $26. If we look at a 4-hour, where is it right now? It's actually popping back up alongside volatility. That's kind of a good signal right here, and rejecting the bearish control zone at the same time. 24.5 is the magical number on this one, so I'm leaning a little bit more towards an upside resolution after some short-term sideways here. 12 hours going to be looking like what? $25, which we're currently about 35 cents above. Again, I think that this is a little bit more on the Bula-ish side, and daily is going to be 24.87, which we are currently almost a $0.50 above, right now. So I suspect that if you are going to be bullish on this one, you're looking for sideways and up, and I would still be running with that assumption again until 24.25 is actually broken on a respectable time frame like a 12-hour or daily for this one specifically. With that in mind, short term, I'd probably be looking for for test back up somewhere around about $26, and then your next sort of big pivot on the short term time frames would be right here, that rejective high that you saw in the early morning hours, 26.15 above there, especially on a 4-hour closure, or just a higher high above your wick right here, 26.63. And I would be looking for extension all the way up, to 27.5 plus, and probably just floats back up to the top side of the range. And this is going to look really good for an upside resolution. Probably not today, probably not tomorrow, but maybe either late this week or early next week is what I'd be looking for. But overall, the setup is there, and again, very well clear defined ranges is typically a good signal.